You were the official school loser, the guy everyone had written off. But then, one day, the entire script flips. You can't even process all this insane power you're suddenly packing. Your body gets so jacked, you're genuinely worried you're going to go bald from the power-up. You don't just pass the running test, you shatter the record. Then you pull the same stunt in the push-up exam. And for the weightlifting test, buddy, they literally run out of weights for you to lift. All the other students are just staring, completely bug-eyed with terror. They're all thinking, wait, that's the kid we used to shove in lockers? He was not this strong. You can practically hear them whispering, if I'd known, I would have never messed with him. But let's be real, things used to be way different. You were the one and only student to completely bomb the passer exam. So while the whole class is celebrating, you, Kanagi Manato, are feeling an absolutely soul-crushing emptiness. This was your third time failing, by the way. A hat-trick of failure. You're the kid who gets to stay behind and scrub the classroom. You're so alone in that moment you almost start bawling, just soaking in how useless you feel. Then, a classmate pops in to tell you all the students need to haul it over to the school entrance. The reason? Some dude named Hizaki Kais, a big-shot A-rank hunter. Turns out, he was a student at this dump before he hit the big time. Now he's back to film a documentary about what a fantastic model student he supposedly was. But here's the tea the cameras aren't catching. Hizaki Kais was a world-class monster. A total jerk who used to use you, Manato, as a personal punching bag every single day for kicks. Just remembering the guy makes you tremble. But what does Hizaki tell the cameras? That you were his best friend, his ride-or-die study buddy who always helped him out. He even throws in some garbage about you loaning him money, knowing damn well your family was broke. These are all calculated lies to make Hizaki look like a saint for his little film. And since you don't have the guts to call him out, you just stand there and agree with his BS. As the reporters snap photos, you feel those humiliating memories burning in your brain. You absolutely despise this guy. After the filming is over, you're hit with that old familiar emptiness of being weak, of having zero power. When you were younger, you loved devouring books about the legendary founders who saved the world. Back when the Tower of Malevolence just popped up and nearly ended humanity with all the monsters pouring out of it, these incredible heroes emerged and saved everyone's bacon. They were total legends. One guy single-handedly defeated 10,000 soldiers with nothing but a wooden stick. It could have easily been a freaking pencil. There was a mage so powerful she could sling spells without saying a single word. This all went down over a century ago, and now they're the stuff of myths. When this special mark appears on your body, it means you have the potential to be an awakened and become a powerful, famous hero. But tough luck, because you, Manato, failed the test 3 times. Your dream was dead in the water. However, before he leaves, Hizaki Kai circles back to you and says he somehow convinced the association to let you retake the test. He tells you to meet him at the Founders' Sanctuary later. This just leaves you completely confused. This guy is the worst, but if he's doing this just to polish his own image, who cares? As long as you get another chance, you're going to take it. Later, at the Founders' Mausoleum, the cameras are rolling for the big finale. The shot focuses on Hizaki standing before the historic tomb, giving some grand, self-important speech. After the interview finally wraps, the reporters thank him, thrilled with the garbage footage they got. Hizaki flashes his fake celebrity smile, saying he can't wait to see the article. But the second they're gone, he drops the act and heads deeper into the mausoleum where his goons are busy digging. Did you find it? So you stumble upon these goons, and one of them is like, "Where's the secret door?" And his buddies point out a hidden passage, all giddy like they've found the prize in a cereal box. But just as they're about to play Indiana Jones, your voice cuts in from behind. You were just there to retake an exam, but instead, you find these delinquents desecrating the place. For you, this isn't just some old tomb, it's practically holy ground. This is where the legends you've looked up to your whole life are honored. Naturally, you try to play hero and stop these grave-robbing rejects, but Hizaki Kais decides to greet you with an A-rank knuckle sandwich to the gut. That punch was no joke. You feel a few of your internal organs rearrange themselves as the goons cheer about grabbing all the good loot. All the priceless artifacts were in there. You're pretty sure you're dying, but your main thought is, man, this is so not cool. They can't just take this stuff. But before you can protest further, Hizaki Kais grabs you, acting like he's your personal biographer or something. He starts monologuing about how you're the weakest loser in school, a total bookworm obsessed with dead guys. And his grand plan? Classic villain stuff. He's going to toss you into the river out back and frame you for the whole tomb raiding fiasco. A perfect, if not slightly cliché, plan. Turns out, that earlier punch wasn't just a love tap, it was meant to be a one-way ticket to the afterlife. So when you get chucked into the river, you've got zero fight left in you. As you're sinking, you get the classic life flashing before your eyes moment. All that training, all that studying, all for nothing. Total bummer. But wait, down at the bottom of the lake, things start getting trippy. Mysterious lights pop up, and even though you're in freezing water, you feel a cozy warmth. It's coming from them. You hear whispers about being the vessel for this generation because apparently a bunch of heroic spirits were sealed here. And look at that. In your hand is the crest of nothingness. Its main feature? It does absolutely nothing. Great. Plot twist. While the crest itself is useless, it lets you channel the spirit of any founder. You're now in a spectral candy store and have to pick just one. You've got options: magic, endurance, swordsmanship, spear art, you name it. But instead of picking one, you pull a greedy gamer move and yell, "I'll take the lot." You want all the cheat codes. The hero ghosts are like, that's not how this works. But whoops, they all get vacuumed into your crest anyway. Every single soul gets sucked into your new bling. Meanwhile, Hizaki and his goon squad are still lakeside when they hear a suspicious noise. Suddenly, the water goes times kaboom asterisk. Hilariously, one of the goons actually has an umbrella. The Three Stooges can't believe their eyes, because there you are, floating in front of them, the very same loser they just offed. You land with a brand new, menacing vibe. Your whole expression has changed, but they stick to the script, insulting you by saying not even cockroaches are that hard to kill. Ignoring their top-tier insults, you casually pick up a random stick. This, of course, sends the two lackeys into a fit of laughter. "You gonna fight us with a twig? Think you're John Wick?" they taunt. But you're unbothered, just casually testing out your new stick-swinging skills. Then Hizaki gets all serious, ordering his boys. This time, make sure he stays at the bottom of the lake for good. So one of the minions draws his sword, vowing to send you on a return trip to your watery grave as he launches a full-blown sword attack. You counter with like a dozen cuts in a single second. The dude doesn't even see it coming. He just feels himself turning into confetti. Hizaki and his chunky sidekick are floored. They're staring, completely dumbfounded. This can't possibly be the same Zero you were minutes ago. So, the chubby one steps up to the plate. He winds up his biggest, baddest spell. Everyone knows you're a mana-free zone, so this should be an easy win for him. In response, you just point. You just point a finger. No magic words, no nothing. And times zap times a massive lightning bolt fries the spot. It wasn't exactly a hard shot to land, to be fair. The target was, let's say, generously proportioned. Still, Hizaki is absolutely shook. That was silent casting, a feat of a true master. You whip out a sword move that looks like it was choreographed by the god of swordsmanship himself, followed by some magic that's straight out of a legendary mage's playbook. What Hizaki's tiny brain can't process is that all 106 founders are now having a party inside your head. You declare that history is about to get a new entry, and don't worry, Hizaki's going to be in it too, but as the very first scrub to be absolutely demolished by the great Kanagi Manato. As you stroll toward him, Hizaki can only gawk in horror, finally accepting the impossible truth. The kid he threw away like old garbage just yoinked the souls of the founders through that crest of nothingness. Meanwhile, inside your head, the founders are going absolutely wild. After centuries on ice, they're soaking up their newfound freedom and already bickering over who gets to drive the meat suit first. Amidst the glorious chaos, the legendary swordsman Henoi Reichu speaks to you, casually noting he's not shocked you remember his name. He asks what your plan is, dismissing Hizaki as a total nobody and pointing your attention to a much bigger problem right behind him. Getting serious, you turn to face Hizaki, who's a stammering mess trying to talk big about being an A-rank hunter. You don't even waste your breath. You just throw a single punch that sends Hizaki soaring. With that out of the way, you turn your attention to the mysterious bag, which is radiating some seriously bad juju. As you stare at it, a massive power surge erupts from inside, catching you by surprise. Hinoi, however, is just watching calmly with a slight smirk on his face. Meanwhile, back in the city, a monstrous three-headed wolf is throwing a massive tantrum. Some guy shouts for someone named Kisaragi to go handle it. Wasting zero time, Kisaragi leaps into action. With some seriously slick grace, he gets above the beast and brings his sword down in a waterfall impact, one-shotting the A-rank monster. The crowd goes absolutely nuts, cheering for the S-rank hunter. Kisaragi gives them a humble thanks before asking where Hizaki is. One of the dudes says Hizaki is probably busy with an interview, remarking how sweet it must be to be called the Young Hope. Kisaragi just shrugs, noting that Hizaki's fame is good for their guild's brand. But just as they're about to dip, a terrifying pressure wave washes over the entire city. Panic erupts as civilians and even low-rank hunters just collapse. Kisaragi sees his own teammates struggling, realizing that even A and B rank hunters can't handle this. He knows instantly, an S-rank monster just logged into the server. The immense pressure is flowing straight from the founder's mausoleum. Back in the forest, a terrified Hizaki scrambles to his feet, staring in horror as a colossal monster crawls out of the bag. He stammers, Is that a demon? What is that thing?" You explain that by stealing the relics, This clown broke the seal that was holding back one of the tower's original boss monsters. Inside your head, Hinoi is analyzing the beast with a pro's eye. He recognizes it immediately as the embodiment of emptiness, a creature way beyond S rank. According to him, its poisonous aura alone can take out thousands, and monsters like this were just another Tuesday for him back in the day. This is way too much for Hizaki. He completely loses it and bolts, convinced that staying for one more second means a guaranteed game over. But you know a predator's instincts. You warn him that running will only get him deleted faster. But it's too late. The second Hizaki moves, the monster strikes. The monster lunges with terrifying speed, shooting a massive tentacle right at the hero, Hizaki. He barely gets his sword up before he gets kebabbed, pierced straight through the chest. And that legendary sword that once slayed a dragon? Yeah, completely useless now. The creature's tendrils slither all over Hizaki's body, sucking out his life force while his screams become the forest's new, horrifying soundtrack. But you just watch, because you totally saw this coming. As the ex-hero bites the dust, the ghost of Hinoi puts a spectral hand on your shoulder. Want to see my one-handed sword style, he proposes, basically trying to hijack your body like it's a rental car. Before you can even say heck no, the other ghost grandpas jump in, grabbing Hinoi by his spectral hair and yelling at him for trying to hog their powerful new meat suit. But it's you who shuts down this supernatural squabble. You're the one laying down the law now. Rule number 1. No single ghost gets to be the driver. Your body is now a timeshare. You declare that one day, you're going to be stronger than all of them combined, and you'll prove it with pure, unadulterated power. If they want to ride in this vessel, they better be ready to show you what OP really means. Stunned by your absolute gall, Hinoi just grins and gets his sword ready, seizing the moment. Hinoi dives in first, merging his consciousness with yours and basically yelling, "All aboard the Kanagi Express," to the other ghosts. As Hinoi's spirit lifts his sword, your body perfectly mirrors the move, aiming for the monster's limbs. With one founder's epic skills downloaded into your brain, your blade slices off a massive arm in one clean, beautiful strike. The beast, obviously not a fan of this, retaliates with a furious swing, but your body, now jacked up on another founder's agility, dodges with inhuman speed. It's like you're power stacking buffs in real time as the ghosts take turns hot swapping into the driver's seat. One gives you the raw strength to catch the creature's own tentacles and give it a taste of a WWE-style smackdown. The monster is totally dazed as you grab a bow, turning it into a pincushion with a volley of arrows. Then you just start spamming your special moves. You've got whirlwinds, you're breathing fire, you're throwing ice. Just as the beast tries a sneaky up from the floor attack, your eyes flash yellow. The legendary wizard in your head takes the wheel and zaps the creature with a fat bolt of lightning. Free calamari, anyone? Then, with a final, epic leap, you soar above the monster. Hinoi takes back control, snags Hizaki's broken sword, and unleashes his signature one-handed technique, the Jirutachi wave-cutting blade. The sword slices the demon clean in two, ending its temper tantrum for good. As the two gooey halves plop to the ground, a victorious smirk finally spreads across your face. And get this, a single raven has been watching the whole show from a nearby tree. Elsewhere, some dude on a skyscraper answers his phone, and he's totally floored to hear the monster was already taken out before he could even show up. He's like, was there a top-tier hunter there or what? But the voice on the other end says their drone, Raven footage shows it was some academy kid who did the deed. This guy, Chihara Midori, who just happens to be the world's strongest awakened, says he wants to meet this student. You. The next morning, Midori is just casually chilling on a pile of monster corpses when he calls the academy's director. He fills him in on the S-rank monster situation, making it super clear that he wasn't the one who beat it. According to the bird cam, the hero of the day was you, Kanagi Manato. Midori finds this a little hard to swallow, especially since you're famous for failing the hunter exam 3 years in a row. So he asks the director for a special favor. Back at the academy, the student gossip mill is running at full capacity. That terrifying vibe from yesterday left most of them frozen in fear, and now they're all buzzing about it. Everyone is playing detective, trying to figure out who could possibly body a monster like that. Meanwhile, you're just trying to navigate the campus, leaning on a stick like an old man, your entire body doing the cha-cha slide. You overhear the gossip and can't believe the tea is already spilling all over school. Suddenly, some random NPC barrels right into you, knocking you flat on your butt and scoffing at the idea that a total weakling like you could be the S-rank slayer. Oh, if only he knew. You did beat the demon, but only by letting some ancient founders use your body like a rental car. And now, you're paying the price. The recoil from their power is a full body cramp nightmare. As you struggle to stand up, a voice in your head starts heckling you. It's Hinoi, your personal ghost bro, reminding you of that big talk about surpassing them. With a tone that's half insult, half pep talk, Hinoi tells you to get it together. You remember your shonen protagonist vow and, ignoring the screaming pain, you force yourself back to your feet, quietly reaffirming your life's mission. Hinoi lets out a little chuckle in your skull, telling you to show some grit. The spirit then does a quick scan of the students nearby and lets out a sigh of pure, unadulterated disappointment. The so-called awakeners of this era seem about as strong as regular people, a far cry from the absolute units of his time. He casually mentions that if the tower popped up right now, the world would be totally screwed, but his doom and gloom monologue is cut short when he feels an insanely powerful aura just chilling nearby. You feel Hinoi's sudden panic, but he just plays it cool. Right then, a professor yells for you to get over there. You're pretty sure this is about your expulsion letter, so you walk over like a man on death row. After all, you've failed 3 times, and there are no more do-overs. But in a shocking plot twist, the professor tells you to report to the field for a re-examination. This news just completely short-circuits your brain. The other students are all crowding the windows, whispering like it's the season finale. No one has ever, in the history of ever, been given a hunter re-examination. Out on the field, you get down into a sprinter's stance. You're not even close to 100%, but you're running on pure spite. The first test is a 100-meter sprint. The same dude who knocked you down starts running his mouth again, calling you a failure. But when the test starts, everyone watches in absolute disbelief. A hush falls over the crowd as you blast across the finish line in a mind-blowing 1.2 seconds, completely demolishing the old 2.7 record. Next up on the agenda, a casual 30,000-meter jog run. You finish that in 1 minute and 17 seconds, making the old record look like a joke. It's the same story for every single test. Push-ups, bench press, you name it. You don't just break the records, you practically double them. The other students are just completely speechless. You yourself are wondering if the founders are giving you a secret cheat code, but Hinoi swears this is all you, kid. Meanwhile, in the principal's office, Midori is looking over your file. The headmaster admits that while your new physical stats are literally unbelievable, the real problem was always your magic. For 3 years, every single test has shown your mana levels to be a big fat 0, completely undetectable. It's the reason you are always considered a lost cause. Midori's secretary just smirks, hinting that things are about to get spicy. Back on the field, you're standing before the final boss, magic measurement. The professor explains you need to pump your mana into a massive fan and get it spinning for 30 seconds. The current record is 4,022 rotations. As you get ready, the memories of failing this exact test, year after year, come flooding back into your head. No matter how much you strained, no matter how hard you tried, that fan has never so much as wobbled for you. Your complete inability to even feel mana has always been your biggest roadblock. But this time, this time is different. For the first time ever, you can feel it, this raw power surging through your veins, starting from your right foot, doing a full-on vortex loop through your body before coming back for more. You suddenly realize your breathing is the gas pedal, letting you rev this engine up and unleash it all from your right palm. The professor gives the signal, and you just let her rip. Instantly, the fan goes from 0 to 100, spinning like a possessed Beyblade. The poor counting machine is having a full-blown meltdown trying to keep up, while the hurricane you're creating makes it impossible for anyone to even see the display. The speed just keeps climbing until kaboom! The whole contraption just straight up explodes. The fan blade, now a free agent, zips across the field like a deadly frisbee. Students are screaming their heads off as it makes a beeline for the main building and slams right into the headmaster's office with a glorious crash. Inside, the headmaster pulls a last-second dive to avoid getting impaled, then promptly faints from the sheer audacity of it all. Midori's secretary is just frozen, her brain completely blue screening, trying to figure out what just happened. Meanwhile, Midori, completely unfazed by the property damage, just lets out a little chuckle. To him, this whole destructive spectacle is like looking in a mirror, because according to Midori, only one other person has ever broken the scoreboard this badly, and surprise, it was him. The professor, looking like he's just seen a ghost, somehow manages to announce that you, Kanagi, have passed the hunter exam. The crowd absolutely loses its mind, erupting in cheers. Not only did you completely shatter every record, you launched all expectations into a different solar system. You're just staring at your hands, trembling in total disbelief. You've spent your entire life thinking you were a magicless nobody. Turns out, you've had the cheat codes this whole time. Over on the sideline, you know your life just did a complete 180. By letting the founders borrow your body, you finally unlocked the dormant god tier potential that's been hiding inside you. Hinoi can't help but laugh, thinking to himself that the guy in front of him is no ordinary Joe. With that whole crest of nothingness branding, it's like you've been waiting for this exact moment for over 100 years. But before he can get too lost in thought, an absolutely crushing presence slams down on the field, sending a shockwave through the air. The sheer force of it is enough to make him forget how to speak. His mind is still buffering from the explosion, but Hanoi instantly recognizes that insane aura. It's the exact same one he felt earlier this morning. And standing before him, like he materialized out of pure pressure, is the legend himself, Midori. You see him and your jaw hits the floor, because that's the strongest hunter in existence. Midori touches down and starts talking directly to you. He's giving you props for your performance in the exam, offering some words of recognition, but you're so starstruck you can barely mumble back. Then he drops a new challenge on you, like it's a pop quiz, an additional test. Midori wants you to land a single, solitary hit on him, the strongest hunter on the planet. Hearing that, you just freeze up, your brain completely short-circuiting. This is Midori, a 23-year-old who got his full-fledged hunter license at the ridiculous age of 9, standing right in front of you. The man's feats are the stuff of legend. Nobody in history even comes close. So, this guy you're about to fight, he's turned thousands of demons to ash in, like, seconds. His power level is so broken that other hunters won't even dare to look at him sideways. 10 years ago, he soloed the entire Pandemonium outbreak. And 5 years before that, he put the Kyushu outbreak on lockdown. The dude is a living, breathing singularity. So as Midori explains this little challenge, you're just standing there in complete disbelief. Hinoi, on the other hand, is absolutely losing his mind with excitement, basically screaming at you to let him take the wheel. But Midori just lays out the rules like he's ordering a coffee. You get 1 minute to land a single hit. Succeed or fail, there are absolutely no consequences. And to be fair, Midori himself will only attack once every 10 seconds, just to make sure the whole thing stays on the level. He's telling you there's no reason to hesitate, no need to overthink it. Any skill, any weapon, is fair game for you. It's a free-for-all. Meanwhile, he's not going to use a single thing. To prove he's for real, Midori summons a massive arsenal of weapons out of thin air, basically telling you to pick your favorite legendary tier loot. Seeing all these famous blades just appear in a flash just cranks up the weirdness of this whole situation. Your brain is totally lagging, trying to process it all. You're realizing that you're actually about to go one-on-one with the legendary Midori, and still not sure this is real. You hesitate before finally asking if you can really use any weapon. In response, Midori just casually scoops up a katana, his grip looking way too relaxed. Then, with zero effort, he snaps the blade clean in half with his bare hands like it was a dry twig. He then states, without a hint of a brag, that his body is sharper than any sword. You barely have a millisecond to process this absolute flex before Hinoi's patience completely evaporates. You can feel his frustration boiling over as he demands to take over, completely fed up with Midori's god-level confidence. His anger just explodes as he declares that hearing that kind of talk from Midori is unforgivable. You can feel Hinoi's energy just surging, his presence getting so much bigger, like he's about to unleash his final form. It finally clicks in your head that Midori's power is on par with the freaking founders themselves. Against that kind of strength, you have a solid 0.0% chance of winning. But hey, even as that reality sinks in, there's no time to chicken out. Of course, all the students are now gathering around to watch the show. Without any warning, Midori starts the countdown. A little smirk plays on his lips as he signals the start of the test. You grab your sword and charge straight at Midori, fully committed. Hinoi is screaming in your head, asking if you're really going to fight alone, insisting it's not a fair fight. But you tune him out and keep up the attack. Even though you know this is a lost cause, you believe that to become a true legend, you've got to use your own strength, not just borrow power from the big guys. You swing your sword at Midori, but he dodges it with a ridiculously small movement. While you're relentlessly attacking, he's just chilling on his phone, asking what social media you use, and casually mentioning this whole thing is definitely getting recorded and going viral. The students are watching in total shock, completely floored that Midori is dodging every single hit without even taking the fight seriously. Though you continue your non-stop assault, one of the students notices something different about your moves. As they watch closer, you lift your sword, faking a high vertical slash before instantly switching to a horizontal slice aimed at Midori's feet and throat. Your execution is flawless, and you're just amazed at how your body is moving on autopilot. Realizing you're not even getting tired, you start to wonder if this is some kind of perk from borrowing the founder's power. But that train of thought gets derailed when Midori casually places a finger on your head, prepping for a flick, and mentions oh so casually that 10 seconds are already up. You just barely dodge, but the shockwave from Midori's little tap completely annihilates the field. Seeing the crater, you realize that if that thing had connected, your head would have been turned into a fine red mist. Midori glances at his hand, all confused, since he didn't sense any bad vibes from you, and starts wondering if he accidentally used the delete button. Meanwhile, pure panic grips you as it dawns on you that you're totally gonna die at this rate. Desperately, you try to channel your inner main character, recalling the sensation of being stronger. As you focus, a massive aura just explodes out of you, catching even Midori off guard. You launch another attack, and suddenly, you're hitting ludicrous speed. The students in the peanut gallery are losing their minds, screaming that the cameras can't even keep up with you too. Midori definitely notices the shift in your whole presence and wonders if there's a secret cheat code to activate this power, or if you're just deliberately holding out on him. Realizing another 10 seconds have zipped by, Midori decides to go lightly on you this time. He bends down, winds up for another flick, but psych, he just thumps you in the chest, sending you rocketing straight into the wall. You're coughing up a bit of the red stuff, but honestly, this is incredible. You're actually fighting the world's strongest awakened, and you know for a fact that if this was yesterday, that one hit would have turned you into a puddle on the floor. This realization actually makes you smile. It means you're leveling up. However, you also have to admit your current skill set is not going to pass this final exam. Determined, you decide to just go full-on brute force and charge at Midori one more time. But then bam, he just teleports right next to you with that insane speed, and you freeze mid-stride. He actually apologizes, telling you he's seen enough. Then he states that the 30 seconds are up right before giving you a little karate chop to the neck, and your world starts to go dark. As you're crumpling to the floor, Midori observes that yeah, you're a genius, but you're not quite on the same tier as his buddies. In the end, you were unable to fully tap into that crazy power he'd sensed. He calls his secretary, telling her to pack it up. They're heading back, and you can practically hear the disappointment in his voice. But just then, your hand grabs your sword, and Midori immediately feels an absolutely intense aura flare up behind him. He glances back and sees your body just radiating with raw power. It's Hinoi, now speaking through your mouth, remarking that the stubborn brat is finally taking a nap, letting him take the driver's seat. Stepping forward, Hinoi suggests they keep this party going a little longer. Meanwhile, your astral projected spirit, now separated from your body, is having a full-blown panic attack watching Hinoi joyriding in your meat suit. But Midori just smiles, recognizing the presence he'd sensed earlier. He's wondering if this is a whole new person or just some crazy hidden skill. Regardless, he understands one thing for sure. You are now a monster. And just like that, Hinoyu launches an attack, shouting at Midori not to space out on the job. Midori sees it immediately. Your movements are completely different. Your speed and strength have just jumped to a whole other level. Suddenly, a sword is kissing Midori's face, and he ducks just in time to avoid it. You swing again, and again, you force Midori to leap away, just to get some space. He's still in shock, watching you expertly line up your sword for another go. You swing again, but Midori pulls a slick Matrix-style dodge, letting your attack slam into the building behind him instead. The students inside are now scrambling like their tuition just went up in smoke, finally realizing this isn't a drill. Midori starts to notice something. He sees that your slashes are totally unpredictable, yet somehow he can still feel the flow of your moves. It's giving him flashbacks to some ancient, relentless water-style swordsmanship. He raises a palm, laughs, and basically says it takes this kind of heat to even challenge an S-rank like him. He lifts his hand again, ready to hit your snooze button once more, pointing out that only 40 seconds have gone by. But nope, you suddenly blast forward at an insane speed, swinging your sword and screaming that he's not going to land a single hit. Midori has to jump back fast to dodge the attack, laughing, as he gives you props for your skills. The student section, meanwhile, can hardly process what they're seeing, with you putting the great Midori on the defensive. You shout that he's being boring and tell him to stop holding back, warning him that if he keeps underestimating you, you're going to wreck him. Without even a pause, you leap in for the attack, but Midori just laughs and says, "You got it, pal." With a quick kick, he sends a random stone flying toward the pile of weapons behind him. Instantly, the entire arsenal floats into the air. He jumps, catching you totally off guard, and snags one of the weapons hovering above. You're hyped, yelling that he's finally taking this seriously. And then, you two engage in a wild mid-air dogfight, clashing foot to foot, leaving the students below completely starstruck. You both grab every weapon you can reach, only to shatter them into bits with your raw power. Meanwhile, inside your head, the Council of Ghost Grandpas is watching Hinoi go full beast mode. They're genuinely impressed Midori can even keep up. One old spirit suggests jumping in, but another one scolds him for being so tactless. The Great Wizard, who's been watching quietly, suddenly realizes you've been studying Hinoi's movements, trying to learn on the fly. He spots Hinoi shifting his center of gravity as he lunges from below, but the sword in your hand shatters. Again, Hinoi is getting seriously ticked off by these cheap, knockoff weapons. Midori, on the other hand, is having the time of his life. He thinks this whole battle is an absolute blast. But then he realizes you're fresh out of swords and probably wonders if you're going to pull out a Glock next. With a taunting smirk, Midori yells that you only have 10 seconds left and cheekily asks what Hinoi's big plan is now. Hinoi just glances over at the building behind him before making a beeline for it. You're heading straight for that one dude who pushed you earlier, and you snatch his sword right out of his hands. Just then, Midori closes in, launching a fist straight at Hinoi. The impact creates a massive explosion against the building. Luckily, Hinoi is fast enough to dodge, and he reappears right in Midori's face. You're back to clashing in mid-air, trading blows. Midori is yelling about how this is so much fun and suggests you guys keep it going. Meanwhile, the students are noticing the building is about to become a pile of rubble. As the fight moves to the rooftop, Midori's secretary is just watching nonchalantly, like this is a regular Tuesday. Midori then puts his hand on a massive industrial fan and just grips it, causing cracks to spiderweb across its surface. He then rips the entire fan straight off the building and aims it right at Hinoi, launching it like a deadly frisbee. But you're about to witness a major plot twist, because Hinoi, rocking his one-handed sword, just casually slices that fan dice thingy in half with his so-called dice-style sword art. The fan explodes into a million tiny pieces, and Midori is actually hyped, giving Hinoi major props. But Hinoi, he's not here to collect compliments. He yeets his sword straight at Midori. To your absolute shock, the sword just shatters on impact. Midori raises a hand, points, and calmly announces that 60 seconds are up before he palm strikes Hinoi, sending the poor guy flying. You can practically hear Hinoi cursing, but before he can even flinch, Kanagi pulls a fast one, hopping on his back and shoving him toward the other founders. As Midori's killer attack closes in, Kanagi somehow just bats it aside with a super chill motion, pulling off a perfect dodge. The move leaves both Hinoi and Midori completely floored. There's just one tiny problem. The impact shatters one of Kanagi's hands. But does he care? Nope. He's laser-focused, winding up a punch for Midori's face with his one remaining good hand. From their perspective, this battle between titans feels like an eternity. A brutal clash over a seemingly tiny prize, like a high-stakes chess match between two grandmasters. But for all its intensity, Hinoi knows this all went down in a split second. You can see the pride in his eyes. He knows Kanagi just kicked open a whole new door to victory. Kanagi, though, is left speechless when he sees Midori stop his fist cold just inches from his face. The frustration is so real as he realizes he whiffed the shot. But then, in a move you did not see coming, Midori smirks and actually pulls Kanagi's fist the rest of the way into his own face, basically giving him credit for the effort. And without skipping a beat, he confirms Kanagi has passed. Before anyone can process this, they both just collapse and hit the deck. The students watching are all muttering, completely lost, trying to figure out what the heck they just saw. Midori, still holding an unconscious Kanagi, calls out for his secretary, Ren, telling her it's time to bounce. Ren pops up beside him and asks for the final score. Midori confirms Kanagi passed, admitting the kid's pretty interesting. But then he adds that he might have accidentally broken Kanagi's arm and asks Ren to patch him up. She's on it, no questions asked. The students, who were totally eavesdropping, can hardly believe Kanagi actually pulled it off. Then the reality sinks in, and the crowd goes absolutely wild, cheering that Kanagi managed to land a punch on the big boss. All that noise wakes Kanagi up, and as Ren starts her healing magic, she warns him not to move. He plays along, thanks her, and she congratulates him on passing the test. But Kanagi, still completely shook, bolts upright, asking, "Wait, for real? I actually landed a hit on Midori?" Before he can even wrap his head around it, Midori materializes right next to him, obviously amused by the whole thing. Not one to drag it out, Midori just says, "A pass is a pass." He even admits he started taking the fight seriously about midway through his relentless combo attack. Midori starts gassing Kanagi up, praising his ability to dodge his strongest attack and his seriously impressive footwork. He tells Kanagi to be proud of that win, and Kanagi, getting his cool back, just soaks it all in. Then, without missing a beat, his mind is already on to the next challenge, dying to know what happens after you pass. His question leaves Ren looking totally baffled as she glances over at Midori, and honestly, he looks just as stumped. Your brain is doing that buffering thing, searching for an answer. Later that night, you're back home, on chore duty, helping your mom clean up while she's chefing it up in the kitchen. She casually drops the how many guests question. You have zero clue, so you just pull a number out of thin air. 1. Your mom then gets all nostalgic, going on about what a massive day it's been. Not only did you absolutely ace the hunter's exam, but you also managed to get Midori's attention. She gives you the whole pep talk, saying she's always been confident in your abilities, believing you've always been the kind of guy who can do anything if you just put your mind to it. You're just soaking it in, quietly appreciating the mom's speech. But then her, Whole vibe shifts. She starts stressing about a celebrity coming over, joking that people might mistake the place for a glorified kennel. You, with maximum eye-roll energy, immediately shut that down. You insist Midori is not the type to judge, a little thing like your humble abode. Once you finish your duties and helped your mom, you finally faceplant onto your bed, but your mind is still replaying the day's greatest hits. Your eyes drift to the card Midori gave you, and a fresh wave of what the heck washes over you. You're left wondering why a guy like Midori didn't exactly play 4D chess with this whole situation. Your mind zips back to the battlefield. From earlier today, replaying the moment Ren took Midori down and gave his leg a not-so-friendly twist. You can still vividly remember Midori's less-than-manly shriek when Ren got the upper hand. And right then, Midori decided it was the perfect time to remind you of something you'd allegedly said earlier, suggesting you totally pinky promised to join his crew if they won. You, completely baffled, deny ever saying anything of the sort. Ren, clearly not a fan of this back and forth, just tightens her grip on Midori's leg. Midori then tells you there are way too many eyeballs on this little drama, suggesting you swing by his place tonight to hash things out for real. He promises he'll lay out all the options and spill the tea on who the times real times bad guys are. And you're just thinking, real enemies? Who? You know the founders already took care of the tower, and the current job description for hunters is basically pest control for monsters leaking from the dimensional crack. You try to figure out the catch, but your brain decides it's nap time. That is, until Hinoi's shouting yanks you out of dreamland. You blink your eyes open to find Hinoi and the whole founder squad having a meeting in your bedroom. Totally confused, you ask what's up and why they're having a slumber party in your room. But Hinoi just plays it cool, saying they were just wrapping up a little chat. Still weirded out, you instinctively pull the covers up, worriedly asking if they've decided who gets to hijack your body. Before Hinoi can answer that incredibly creepy question, your doorbell rings, saved by the bell. You apologize, figuring it's Midori, and tell them you'll have to table the whole body-snatching discussion. You head to the door. It's dark, and you've got a bad feeling about this. And yup, your gut was right. To your absolute horror, you see your mom collapsed on the floor. Panic hits you like a freight train. You scream her name, rushing over, but you stop dead in your tracks when you spot someone just casually sitting in your kitchen. This stranger is just chowing down on the food your mom made, even having the nerve to compliment it, all while completely ignoring the disaster zone he's sitting in. With a voice dripping in sarcasm, this guy tells you that you should get your mom in line. He even has the audacity to say that if you want to impress customers, you're going to need to upgrade the menu. That's it. You snap, demanding to know who the hell he is and what he did to your mom. The guy doesn't even flinch. He just barks at you to watch your tone, then introduces himself as Hitani Goru, an S-rank hunter, and get this, a comrade of Midori. Hitani then orders you to pack a bag, announcing that you're moving to their base. Okay, that's the last straw. Pure rage floods your system. Without even thinking, you launch a punch right at Hitani's smug face, but you easily dodge and pop up behind him as he asks if you're seriously trying to start something. You, however, give him the strong, silent treatment. Instead, you're having a full-blown flashback montage, remembering your mom's words, how she promised to raise you with pride all on her own after your dad passed. You remember the worn-out shoes she refused to replace, always insisting you get the new kicks instead. Classic mom move. You also remember her congratulating you just hours ago, promising to make your favorite tonkatsu for dinner. And just like that, fueled by the power of future pork cutlets, you glare at Hitani and demand to know what in the world he did to your mom. Watching this drama unfold, Hinoi has a sudden realization this guy is a legit S-rank hunter from the olden days. Hinoi is just annoyed, thinking this dude is a cheap Emidori knockoff, and decides he's seen enough of this clown show. It's go time. Meanwhile, the founders who saw you fight Midori are finally getting the memo on how they should be treating you from now on. Hitani, finding this all hilarious, taunts you, saying your angry face is pretty cute. He then raises a hand to give you a condescending little slap, but you don't even flinch, standing there completely unfazed. As the hand flies toward your face, you effortlessly snatch it right out of the air. You grab Hitani's hand and with almost zero effort, just swing his entire body around. The head grandpa over there is absolutely floored. He recognizes that technique from the good old days of fighting actual monsters. Next thing you know, Hitani is launched clean through the window, crashing right through the backyard wall. But of course, he pulls a perfect superhero landing before he even hits the dirt, regains his footing, and starts walking back, trying to compute what just happened. He's wondering if you just pulled some Aikido master move on him. He then remembers your little scuffle with Midori that afternoon. He'd clocked your massive aura and slick swordsmanship, but also sensed a strange, almost bizarre power. Hitani has to admit, you're way tougher than Haki, but your patience bar has officially hit 0, so you demand an answer, getting right in his face about what he did to your mother, who's still inside, twisting in pain as some kind of poison courses through her veins. Hitani's response? He just laughs, mockingly pointing out that you seem to be a little out of the loop. Then, with a full-on villain grin, he finally drops the truth bomb. Your mother was in the way, so he just put her to sleep. With poison. Hitani smirks, adding that if she's lucky, she might only suffer from some minor side effects. You stay impossibly calm, saying you don't understand, which actually confuses him for a second. You then ask why on earth they'd hurt the family of someone who might become their comrade. Hitani just howls at the word comrade. Then, in a flash, he teleports behind you, ready to strike. You barely dodge his attack, but the guy is relentless, coming at you again and again. As he attacks, he makes it crystal clear that you'll never be their comrade. Nope, you're just a puppet meant to follow their commands. He taunts you, explaining that once your loved ones are turned into hostages, you'll have no choice but to play along. He even has the nerve to call you naive. Before you can react, Hitani steps right on your foot and lands a slash, smugly asking if you get his point now. You leap back, a sharp, burning sensation spreading on your cheek. As you touch it, you realize the poison is already kicking in. He grins, lifting his fingers, which are now coated with sharp, poison-laced needles. He teases that it's already in your system, then reveals his special little party trick. Apparently, he can produce dozens of poisons from his own body. He calls this one Phantom Bug's poison, Deadly Vision. Sounds delightful. Hitani then starts complaining about how inconvenient this mission is, bragging that he could release a deadly toxic gas over a 5-kilometer radius, but doing that in the city is just too much paperwork. He then states that this poison will end your run permanently. Him in a minute unless he agrees to join their organization. If he does, Hitani will give him the antidote, otherwise he'll die. He thinks about how deadly his toxin is, knowing it would be an inescapable death sentence for any normal person. Looking down at his hand, he calls out to Valentine, the god of medicine, asking if she's inside him. The founders look at Valentine, who seems both confused and surprised. He apologizes for calling her so suddenly, and asks if she can teach him how to neutralize the poison later. She stammers out an agreement. Irritated, Hitani throws another wave of poison at him, yelling and asking what kind of nonsense he's mumbling. He quickly dodges it, then explains that the Aikido move he'd used earlier came from Kudu Huma, the god of hands. The old man inside him is taken aback, realizing he's managed to copy his move just from seeing it once. Next, he calls on Hinoi, the 10,000 army slasher, Shimamurkalkus, the blue spear of destruction, and Margaret, the heavenly bow. He says he studied and memorized all of them from the records. He tells Hitani that the founders Hitani used to look up to are now inside him. This leaves Hitani completely bewildered, but instead of being afraid, Hitani gets furious. He shouts that he'll show him what real pain is. Hitani then charges at him, his needles ready. He leaps away just in time, avoiding the attack. Hitani's strike hits a nearby tree and it withers and dies instantly. Hitani doesn't hesitate. He launches another attack, shouting that if he kneels and begs, he might get an antidote to make the pain a little less. He warns him, once pain consumes him, he'll never go back to normal. His mind will be lost to madness. But he stays silent, just waiting as Hitani's hand gets closer. Just as Hitani reaches him, he quickly slides to the side. He puts his palm against Hitani's chest and activates St. Wantok's fist. Hitani coughs up blood from the hit, which shocks Wantok inside him. The force sends Hitani crashing into a streetlight. Without a moment's hesitation, he follows up with a kick using Irsen's Feet of Light. This sends Hitani flying a great distance. Irsen, who's inside him, is stunned by the power, but Hitani still manages to stand up and recovers quickly. In an instant, he's in front of Hitani again, attacking with both hands. He manages to slip through Hitani's attack, breaking some of his needles. Then he uses the sharp beak corral attack, hitting Hitani in the stomach. Kanagi then slashes Hitani with Rowan's skill, the Dragon's Claw. This leaves Rowan, who's inside him, stunned in surprise. Hitani grabs him, then activates Leilak's Flipper, which ends up throwing Hitani around in midair. As he floats, he wonders what's happening. He knows poison should cloud judgment and should have already messed with the nervous system, but Kanagi is still moving, strong and unharmed. Kanagi then used the Magus of Truth, Melta Silentius, unleashing it on Hitani. There was a loud energy blast that completely shocked everyone. Hinoi turned to the founders, asking if they'd seen that. He told them that right after beating Hitani, Kanagi began copying all their moves, both physical and magical. Hinoi added that he didn't care if Kanagi's power came from the crest of nothingness. He just found him really interesting. The founders agreed. Hinoi then suggested they train Kanagi, convinced that if they did, he'd become the strongest awakener. So while you're having your main character moment, let's cut to a B-plot. A bunch of hooded goons are playing parkour across the city's rooftops. One of them is screaming for his squad to hurry it up. He spills the beans that Nemo's guilds are gunning for you, so they gotta snatch you first. The plan is to grab you before Nemo's crew shows up. But just then, Midori teleports behind the guy like it's nothing and casually asks, "Are there really that many of you?" The dude practically jumps out of his skin. Midori, cool as a cucumber, just tells him, "If there are 15, then you, my friend, must be the grand finale." Then Midori just taps the guy's forehead with a finger, which somehow flips his head around before he's absolutely slammed face first into the concrete roof. Ouch. He whips out his Raven's call to hit up Ren, and she answers instantly, letting him know she's arrived on the scene. She assures him that there aren't any other Awakeners around, but then she drops a bombshell that even gets Midori's attention. "Someone else has already been here," Ren says. Midori goes dead silent, just waiting for her to spill the tea. Ren explains that the mystery intruder was Hitani, an S-rank hunter. This guy is infamous for his poison skills. He apparently came looking for you, but got completely and utterly wrecked. Midori's eyes shift over to the rooftop, where Hitani is just sprawled out like a starfish, mouth hanging open. You can practically see the gears turning in Midori's head, wondering what the heck went down. A little later, the whole crew shows up at your house. Midori strolls in, clapping his hands together with a grin that could power a small city. He's hyping you up, totally impressed that you managed to take down Anne all by yourself, saying he never saw that coming. Then, getting straight to business, he asks, "So, did you get a face full of that poison?" You just kind of scratch your cheek, giving a sheepish little reply. "Both Mom and I are fine, but Hinoi, ever the party pooper, crosses his arms and just has to remind you, you wouldn't have made through the night without Valentine's help." As soon as her name is dropped, Valentine lets out a groan, looking completely drained. She's totally exhausted. But Hinoi gives her props for her speed, noting that wrapping everything up in just 5 seconds is some next-level stuff. That's no easy feat. Valentine just shrugs it off, muttering that it wasn't a big deal. I mean, when the guy who literally invented the poison is right there. All it took was a few quick jabs to get the blood samples they needed to cook up the antidote. Your brain is still buffering from all the chaos, but you finally managed to ask the one question that's been bugging you. So, was Hitani just lying? When he said he was on your team, Midori immediately nods, confirming it was a total fabrication. He adds that a ton of people try to use his name for clout. With that mystery solved, he glances back at Ren and asks if she's all done with her little project. And right on cue, she materializes at his side and nods. She reports that all the property damage has been reversed. Your eyes go wide with total disbelief. You whip your head around to look at your house, and sure enough, your window and the backyard wall look like they were never even touched. It's like HGTV, but with magic. Then, with that $1,000,000 smile, Midori suggests you all head inside to talk about your future. You, meanwhile, are just standing there, completely shell-shocked. You're hit with this wild mix of pure excitement and a healthy dose of what did I just get myself into. The very next day, a sleek car is waiting for you. Your mom sees you off at the gate, doing the classic mom checklist, asking if you forgot anything. You just tell her you're all good. You tell her she worries way too much, but you can see she's still trying to wrap her head around the fact that her kid is now heading off to Midori's place. Midori had already given your mom his personal guarantee that he'd take care of you and mold you into an amazing hunter. Hearing that again gets you super pumped. You're buzzing with excitement, but your mom's still got that worried look. Trying to hide it, she hands you a packed lunch, telling you to eat, since you bolted out the door without breakfast. Even though you don't really need it, you take it without a word. Then your mom. So your mom cuts right to the chase, asking Midori if her precious son that's you is about to walk into a danger zone. Midori, bless his heart, confirms it instantly. Your mother then lays it all out, explaining how you've basically been on struggle street your whole life, so trusting him with you is a massive leap of faith. Still, because she's a mom, she can't help but have a major case of the jitters. Midori, oozing confidence, promises he'll train you so hard you won't have a single weakness left. Hearing that, she finally caves and agrees to leave you in his questionable care. The second you're all in the car, Ren, who's behind the wheel, throws some serious side-eye at Midori. She's basically asking if it was a good idea to promise your mom the moon, especially since none of you have a clue what's going to happen next. For a split second, Midori looks like he's regretting his life choices. He glances in the rearview mirror and sees your mom still shouting last-minute advice. We're talking a full-blown tutorial on how to do your laundry, and of course, the classic reminder not to sleep in your birthday suit or you'll catch a cold. Her epic mom cern seems to flip a switch in Midori's head. He silently vows he's going to give this his all. Meanwhile, you're over there trying to swallow your feelings and squeak out a final goodbye. Just as you're about to dive into the car, your mom hits you with the "don't forget to come home for New Year's." As you guys finally peel out, Midori checks in, asking if you're okay. You admit you had to use every ounce of willpower not to turn into a blubbering mess. Midori just leans back, telling you to just do your thing, whether it's stuffing your face or taking a nap. Looking around, your eyes land on the lunchbox your mom packed, sitting there like a beacon of love. You pop it open, her words still ringing in your ears. When you lift the lid, your eyes lock onto a tiny good luck message sitting right on the pork cutlet. That simple little note hits you like a ton of emotional bricks. You just pause for a second, thinking about all the care and sacrifices she's made for you. A quiet wave of gratitude washes over you as you start to eat, even though the meal has a distinct side of almost crying. Ren and Midori exchange a look but wisely stay silent, letting you have your moment as the journey continues. When you finally arrive at your destination, you are completely shell-shocked. You're just staring at the ridiculously impressive anti-prophecy headquarters. Midori gives you the grand tour welcome, explaining that only a handful of elite awakeners ever get to step foot inside. The sheer weight of that statement lands on you. For a brief moment, you're totally overwhelmed, realizing the insanity you're about to join. Cut 2. Inside one of the rooms, some guy's doing the dramatic window stare, watching your arrival with quiet intensity. Without even turning, he speaks to someone else in the room, confirming that the new recruits are here. A girl with an unreadable poker face questions if all this drama is really about you, the new guy. A younger dude replies that getting a new teammate is a pretty big deal, but another guy standing off to the side with his arms crossed is radiating skepticism. He insists you all need to figure out if the newcomer that's you is even worthy of joining their exclusive anti-prophecy club. Meanwhile, back outside, you're still frozen, your brain struggling to process the scenery. Questions are just pinballing in your head. What in the world is the anti-prophecy unit? And could it possibly be connected to the Ichihara Guild? Sensing your brain is about to short-circuit, Ren acknowledges that things are super confusing and apologizes for not explaining sooner. She clarifies that she couldn't tell your mom everything because it's all classified. We're talking top-level national secret stuff. Those words hit you way harder than you ever expected. So, you're heading for the building, and Midori suggests dropping your luggage at the dorm first. Ren offers to help you out, but you're all like, "Nah, I got this." Just as you're about to grab your bags, a voice cuts through the silence, telling you to hold up. The random interruption totally spooks you. You glance up, and oh great, it's that guy from before. Standing above you like some kind of dramatic anime villain, he announces he's here to explain everything. Then, in the very next breath, he launches a freaking meteor kick straight at your face. You instinctively throw your arms up to block, but the raw power of the kick literally shatters the ground under your feet. The shockwave rattles your entire skeleton, but you somehow manage to stay standing, bracing against the aftershock. The guy actually seems impressed. He gives you a nod for your toughness and even tosses out a rare compliment. Okay, now you're intrigued. You take a beat and ask him just who the hell he is. Without missing a beat, the guy flips back, landing perfectly on his feet. He then proudly introduces himself as Hanada Hikutaru, a member of the anti-prophecy unit and, get this, your new comrade. The news hits you like a ton of bricks, but there's not really time to process it. Apparently, Hanada's job is to give you the rundown, and whether you're ready or not, the truth is about to get kicked into you. Meanwhile, Midori is acting like this is just another Tuesday. He just asks Ren for some tea. Ren nods and pours him a cup. While you and this new guy are duking it out, Midori is just watching calmly, his gaze totally locked in. He pipes up and asks Hanada why you're fighting if you're supposed to be teammates. Hanada, still completely chill, explains it's a 2-for-1 special, welcoming you to the anti-prophecy unit and, testing your skills. This explanation just leaves you wondering what kind of insane HR department this place has. Seriously, what kind of welcome party is this? Before you can even finish the thought, Hanada zips in with another precision kick aimed right at you. You react instantly, blocking the hit with both arms, not even budging, and even in the middle of this high-speed brawl, Hanada starts giving you a history lesson on the anti-prophecy unit. You're trying to listen, but you're a little skeptical. You highly doubt this guy is going to give you the full story while he's actively trying to rearrange your face. As the scrap continues, Hanada actually pauses to ask for your name before he keeps going. Without missing a beat, you tell him you're Kanagi Manato. Midori, still sipping his tea like it's a day at the spa, is probably thinking about how you've been tested over and over. First by the academy, then by him, even by a freaking S rank. And now you've got another pop quiz. He turns to Ren, wondering out loud if you're ever going to catch a break. Ren, cool as ever, just says it comes with the territory. After all, you were personally scouted for this gig. Meanwhile, Hanada is just unloading a relentless storm of kicks, but you just keep blocking them with your hands. Your endurance is absolutely insane. At one point, Hanada suddenly asks, "So, what's the role of a hunter?" You don't hesitate for a second, firing back. A hunter's job is to eliminate monsters that come out of dimensional cracks. Hanada gives you a big thumbs up, letting you know you passed that part of the exam. He then compares a hunter's role to pest control, which is a simple but brutally honest way to put it. Suddenly, Hanada drops to the ground, switching topics with a brand new question. He asks you about other dangers that exist outside of those dimensional cracks. The question totally throws you for a loop. You hesitate, asking Hanada to clarify what he means by other dangers. The look on his face, Hanada's face darkens as he tells you the world's got way bigger problems than a few measly dimensional cracks and starts listing off the greatest hits of global disasters. You know, casual stuff, like the pandemonium at the 10,000 Demons Castle from 10 years back and the Great Kyushu outbreak just 5 years ago. And bingo, your brain connects the dots. These were massive dimensional breaks, the kind of disasters that leave a permanent mark on the history books. But before you can even get a word out, Hanada decides a pop quiz is in order and launches himself at you. Your instincts kick in, and you throw up your arms just in time to block the hit. But damn, the force alone sends you sliding backward. Hanada gives you a nod, basically saying, "Not bad, kid." He even praises you for remembering the sanitized, public access version of those catastrophes, then dangles a carrot. You'll get the full, uncensored story once you're in the academy. Just as you manage to plant your feet and catch your breath, thinking the test is over, you realize you've barely got a second to react. Because Hanada has apparently mastered the art of teleportation, appearing directly above you with mind-boggling speed. You don't even have time for an "oh crap" moment before Hanada's leg is swinging down in a devastating axe kick aimed right at your skull. You somehow manage to throw your entire body out of the way, dodging by a hair's breadth as his foot slams into the ground where your head used to be. A poor, unsuspecting tree takes the full force of the impact, splitting clean in two. The sheer power of that kick leaves you completely stunned for a hot second. You're still processing the near-death experience when Hanada straightens up, his tone shifting back to calm professor mode as he continues his lecture. He explains that ancient events like the Tower of Malevolence from 300 years ago weren't just oopsie-daisy disasters. Nope, they were full-blown invasions. We're talking direct, hostile takeovers from another dimension. You're struggling to process this, trying to wrap your head around the sheer gravity of his words. This isn't ancient history he's talking about. It's happening times right now, asterisk. Hanada steps closer, his face dead serious. He then goes on a mini rant, admitting he has no clue why today's Awakeners are, let's be real, kind of wimpy compared to the old-timers from the Tower era. Apparently, nobody's measuring up to the original founder's power level these days, and it's seriously grinding his gears. A mix of morbid curiosity and sheer panic bubbling inside you, you finally ask the question that's been on your mind. So, what are we supposed to do? Hanada's answer is immediate and firm. That, he says, is precisely why the anti-prophecy unit exists. He then breaks down how the whole secret society thing works. See, the folks who can predict these world-ending catastrophes don't exactly post their findings on the 6 o'clock news. That info is strictly need to know. It only goes to the elites, the A-team, the ones who can actually do something about it. And guess who those elites are? You guessed it, the anti-prophecy unit. Midori and Ren can't help but puff out their chests, looking super proud. And that's when it all clicks for you. Their entire job is to look at a terrible prophecy and say, "Nah, not today." Then Hanada drops the big one. As of right now, you're officially one of them. He welcomes you to the squad, mentioning that you're the first newbie who's ever managed to block his surprise "welcome to the team" kicks back to back. He holds out a hand, making it official, and you shake it. Midori and Ren start clapping like proud parents, and then Hanada calls out to the other Awakeners who just materialize on the roof like a bunch of ninjas. Hanada's like, "So, what's up, guys?" But they just give him the silent treatment before vanishing into thin air, which, understandably, weirds you out a little. Midori jokes that they disappear like classic villains, but Hanada just shakes his head, figuring they just wanted a front row seat to your little audition. Hanada tells Midori he's got it from here, and she takes off. With the welcome party over, Hanada helps you with your stuff and offers to show you to your new dorm room, which is pretty nice of him after he tried to kick your head in. That night, as you're settling in, your brain is spinning, trying to wrap your head around this whole anti-prophecy organization. Their entire job description is basically handling Destiny's spam folder. You start wondering if the original founders dealt with this same kind of cosmic drama back in the Tower days, and if you're just the latest contestant in some pre-written reality show. Your anxiety is about to hit redline, but a voice cuts through the static, telling you that you've just been training. You whip around, completely stunned, to see Hinoi and the whole founder squad just standing there. You immediately start apologizing for ghosting them, but Hinoi just brushes it off, saying they've already made a call. As the OGs of this world, they've decided to personally level you up to be the strongest awakener, just like Midori. With their private coaching, you could become the most OP awakener ever, their one and only star pupil. You're completely floored, asking if they're serious about taking you on as their disciple. Hinoi nods a firm yes, but then she teases that it's about to turn into a founder battle royale over who gets to train you. Panicked, you're begging them not to throw down over you. Hinoi explains that yeah, that was the original plan. But after watching your gameplay up close, the founders had a change of heart. Instead of just hijacking your body for their own glorious comeback tour, they figured that training you is way more entertaining. Hinoi then drops the bomb that when you beat the poison user, you basically pirated his entire moveset. Sure, your execution was a little janky, but you downloaded the fundamentals at lightning speed. Hinoi asks if you even realize how much of a cheat code that is, guessing it's probably because of your crest of nothingness, but what really makes you special is your insane learning curve. Hinoi explains that this copy-paste ability of yours is actually more broken than any of the founders' own unique skills. As she's saying this, you feel the waterworks starting to well up. You're hit with a flashback of your old trainers' disappointed faces, the ones who said you had zero talent. Until this moment, the bar for you was so low it was a tripping hazard. This whole thing feels like a fever dream, especially since you've been treated like absolute garbage and relentlessly bullied for failing the Hunter's qualification test 3 times. You can still hear your classmates laughing, their mocking voices telling you to just give up already. Your name was practically a ghost, lost in the crowd because no one cared enough to remember it. Nobody put any stock in your future, and you were totally used to being invisible. But now, 2 of the most legendary figures in the game, Midori and Hinoi, are actually giving you a shout-out. You can't even believe it's happening. It has you questioning if you've done anything to deserve this sudden plot armor. You've admired them from the cheap seats for ages, never once dreaming they'd actually bet on you. Hinoi notices you're having an emotional system crash and steps closer with a reassuring smile, putting a hand on your shoulder. She tells you to get a grip and not let your emotions take over. Then comes the next reveal. Their actual souls are literally living inside you, rent-free, especially when you're asleep. This little spectral roommate situation means you can access a pocket dimension not bound by time or space. Knowing this, they lay out your new, hellish training regimen. Every afternoon, you'll be grinding with the anti-prophecy unit, and at night, you'll continue your lessons in your dreams. Yeah, say goodbye to a good night's sleep, but you've already braced yourself for the grind. You accept their terms on the spot, ready to follow their every word. Night zips by and morning slams into you. In the bathroom, Hanada's washing his face when he sees you shuffle in. You exchange a morning, but you look like you just went 12 rounds with a nightmare. You're completely drained, and you have to admit it. So, you're not quite vibing with this brutal new schedule. Hanada totally gets it, remembering how he basically sleepwalked through his first few weeks here, when he was the new guy. But then, something snaps Hanada out of his trip down memory lane, a seriously powerful aura just blasting out of you. His curiosity is officially piqued, so, like any normal person, he just impulsively throws a lightning-fast kick your way. Yet, with almost zero effort, you just duck your head, spit out a mouthful of water, and keep on walking. Not even a backward glance, you've just completely ghosted his attack. You call out Hanada's little stunt, saying you've got zero patience for that nonsense this early in the morning and you're heading to the cafeteria. First, Hanada is left standing there, absolutely gobsmacked. He knows for a fact that attack was faster than yesterday's, but you dodged it like it was in slow motion. Moments later, you're in the cafeteria, and Hanada spots an open seat next to some woman who is just minding her own business, eating some fruit. He asks if she minds if you guys join her, and she gives this clipped, barely a yes approval. Hanada takes the opening, sits right across from her, and gestures for you to sit next to him, and that's when you recognize her. This is one of Hanada's comrades from the day before, but man, she is radiating some serious leave-me-alone vibes. She's talking to you all formal, making it crystal clear. She does not want you at her table. Still, you try to be friendly, say hello, and introduce yourself. Her reaction is immediate and icy. She couldn't be less interested in learning your name, and she definitely has no plans to remember it. She even raises her fork, points it right at you, and declares she'll only bother to learn your name when she decides you're worthy. Until that glorious day, training is the only thing on the menu. And speaking of which, you're going with her on a mission to go bust a prophecy. This particular doomsday prediction goes all the way back to 1945, when some poor souls found the very first prophecy book buried 3,000 meters deep in the Antarctic ice. They gave it a super cheerful name, the Book of Doom. The writing inside was super crude, like a kid's crayon drawing, but its message was pure catastrophe. It predicted that 80 years later, the world would get slammed with a devastating attack and a whole series of end-of-the-world level disasters. The words were so heavy that everyone immediately took it seriously. Fast forward to you guys driving, and she hits you with a pop quiz. Why do you think the world bought into the book's grim predictions? You pause for a moment, look over at her, and realize you still have absolutely no idea what her name is. But before you can even ask, she cuts you off, saying introductions are pointless and she just wants your answer. Ouch. You guess that the prophecies must have been pretty accurate, but she jumps on that answer immediately. She scoffs at you, practically, questioning your brain power. She lays it on you that if even a single one of those prophecies in the Book of Doom actually came true, it would be game over for the world. That little bombshell leaves you completely stunned. As the chat continues, you turn to Hinata, wondering just how many of these prophecies were actually written down. Hinata casually guesses around 200, which just leaves you speechless. You can't help but wonder if the world is already a total goner. But Midori jumps in to reassure you that they've already prevented nearly 180 of those prophecies, which, you have to admit, is pretty amazing. Still trying to get your brain to compute all this, you circle back to your original question about why the world believed in the book so damn much. The woman explains that it all started with an explorer named Bernard Russell, the guy who found the Book of Doom. The second Bernard opened it. The very first page read, "Hello, Bernard," along with a chillingly precise timestamp, March 17th, 1945, at 11:35 in the morning on a sunny day, the exact moment he discovered it. That level of eerie accuracy left absolutely no room for doubt. Hours later, you finally arrive at your destination, Tokyo's Sumida Ward. Your target? An intermediate-level dimensional crack had opened up. But as you and the crew get closer, a couple of guards step in your way, trying to be all tough and telling you the area is totally off-limits. But your new friends just blow right past the warnings, leaving the guards completely gobsmacked and eating their dust. You pause for a second, wondering if your time's supposed to be here, but Hinata quickly tells you it's all good. Then the woman launches into the briefing. She starts explaining the absolute dumpster fire they're dealing with. Apparently, little things like a third world war, the dark side of them is the pandemonium outbreak, which your girl Midori somehow stopped, was an especially nasty one. And even though the Book of Doom sounds super famous, it's just one of many magical instruction manuals scattered all over the planet. The anti-prophecy unit's entire job is to gather intel, analyze the universe's spoilers, and stop the bad endings before they happen. She then starts breaking down the different threat levels they handle. A rank 3, for instance, means one or more entire regions are about to get deleted. A rank 2 is a national level, we're all gonna die situation. And a rank 1 screws with the entire planet's ecosystem. But wait, there's more. The special rank is reserved for a full-on end-of-the-world party. You're soaking all this in, and as you realize just how deep in it you are, you get a little freaked out. You urgently ask if these insane missions are now completely on your shoulders. The woman doesn't even flinch. She confirms it with a deadpan, yep, saying those duties are just part of the welcome package for joining the anti-prophecy unit. A moment later, some dude named Kisaragi and his crew spot you casually crossing the caution line and immediately run up to play hero. Kisaragi, probably thinking you're all just lost cosplayers, warns you to scram, explaining how super-duper dangerous the area is. But the woman just brushes off his concern like lint on her shoulder, stating that today's little prophecy is a rank 3 event. She explains that the cosmic tear in front of you might look like a mid-level B-rank problem, but it's actually a much bigger threat, a full-blown rank 3 disaster codenamed Yellow Journal. She's absolutely sure the crack is about to get bigger and, right on cue, it starts to widen at an alarming rate. Kisaragi turns around, his eyes wide with pure terror, as the fissure rips itself a new one. Then a whole party of creatures starts pouring out, each one looking like it crawled out of a nightmare. Kisaragi barks at his squad to get ready for a fight, but the response is both instant and absolutely savage. The creatures just shred his forces in a matter of moments, cutting them down with basically zero effort. Panic mode is officially activated, and Kisaragi starts cursing, realizing that even his B and C rank hunters are getting absolutely bodied. Then his attention snaps to something way more dangerous, the crushing pressure of a boss-level monster. As he watches you and your new crew stride forward, Kisaragi tries to step in again, shouting at you all to get back. But before he can get another word out, the woman presses her hand to the ground and casts some spell called Trismegist. Instantly, a forest of spears erupts from below, skewering the creatures in a single, brutal move. Their bodies just collapse, lifeless, as the ground gets a fresh coat of red paint. Hinata decides to join the party too. He blasts forward at an insane speed, moving like water through the battlefield and dropping every enemy in his path with clean, calculated strikes. Kisaragi just watches the whole show, his jaw practically on the floor. He'd always thought he was the big cheese as an S-rank hunter, but it's dawning on him that you guys are on a whole other level of broken him, and you can practically see the question marks popping over his head. He has zero clue who these people are. Then, the mystery woman turns to Kisaragi and with all the subtlety of a freight train, tells him to take a hike. Yeah, as far as she's concerned, he's just some random civilian caught in the crossfire in this whole mess. But then Kisaragi's gaze drops to her hand, and you see it too, an emblem right on her skin. Suddenly, the light bulb goes on. He gets it now. These aren't some random vigilantes, they're the feds. But before he can even begin to unpack that bombshell, a freaking giant hand just punches through the dimensional crack, tearing the sky a new one. And as this cosmic hole gets bigger, a monster straight out of your nightmares steps through. Meet Gilia Olir, a creature so far beyond S rank, it's not even funny. This thing's got an aura that just screams you're all gonna die. And what does our girl do? She doesn't even blink, just launches herself right at it, ready to throw down. You hear Kisaragi screaming at her not to be a reckless idiot, but nah, she's got her earbuds in, apparently. So the two of them just charge in, totally unbothered by the city-sized monster in front of them. Hinata immediately starts unloading a flurry of kicks on this beastman, only to realize plot twist. His attacks are doing literally nothing. Turns out, the creature's rocking some top-tier anti-physical armor, making his kicks about as effective as a stern talking to. He's forced to bail just as it goes for the woman, but she's not sweating it. You see her start charging up some serious energy, getting ready to blast it back to whatever dimension it came from. But before she can fire, Kane just teleports in between them like it's nothing. And get this, he stops the beast's attack with just his bare hand. The monster connects, and then just times it explodes in a shower of pure energy, leaving everyone totally stunned. When the smoke clears, Hinata knows exactly what he just saw. That was a penetration shock. But the real kicker for him? The fact that Kane just one-shotted an S+ rank monster. It dawns on him that Kane must have hit some insane power-up overnight. And even though the woman is complaining that he overdid it, Kane knows the score. When you're fighting something with crazy high physical defense, you gotta hit him from the inside out. It's the only way. A little lesson he picked up from Wantak, the fist saint himself, who literally gave him the crash course on these internal attacks just last night. Classic. Anyway, Kane turns to the girl he just saved and is like, "Hey, I just saved your life. The least you can do is tell me your name." And she's all giddy, telling him her name is Ain. But there's no time for a meet cute. Hinata's already spinning back to the fight, powering up for the next wave of baddies pouring out of the portal. The woman's not fazed either. She unleashes her own crazy attack, soaking her enemies in what looks like liquid mercury, then just detonates it with a skill called Mercurious Reject. Badass. Together, they keep pushing. And you can see they're realizing Kane had the right idea, hitting these things from the inside is way more effective. So she's all in, gives Hinata the signal, and without a second thought, they both make a beeline straight for the dimensional crack itself. Meanwhile, Kisaragi is just standing there, his jaw on the floor. He knows the world on the other side of that thing is a whole different ballgame, a place packed with dangers you can't even imagine. Charging in there is a one-way ticket to Crazy Town. But before he can even shout, "Wait," they're gone, having jumped through the portal like they're hopping a puddle. And Kisaragi is just left standing there in a graveyard of A-rank monsters. And that's when it finally clicks. These two are not your average fighters at all. They have to be from Time's secret organization everyone whispers about. And the second they step into that other dimension, an overwhelming swarm of creatures was waiting for them. Akane quickly assessed the situation. She noted that the monsters were identical to the ones outside, then raised her hand. With perfect precision, she conjured a barrage of mercury spears, instantly impaling the creatures. Kane, still running, watched her technique and acknowledged her immense power. He finally understood why she was considered the strongest area of effect fighter within the anti-prophecy unit. After they defeated the other enemies, Akane now stood in front of a massive bear monster. Just as she was about to attack, though, Hinata leaped toward it first. The bear saw him and swung its claws, but Hinata dodged by, jumping onto the roof. He then followed up with a barrage of kicks all around the beast. Kane watched, amazed as Hinata moved so effortlessly, simply giggling. But then, to his shock, Kane suddenly rushed at the bear and unleashed a barrage of kicks, just like Hinata had. He even asked Hinata if it looked similar to his own technique. Hinata was taken aback, but he couldn't help but smile in amazement. Once they defeated the monster, they ventured ahead. Akane noticed that the deeper they went, the fewer enemies they encountered. They finally reached a huge open space that looked just like an arena. Suddenly, they felt an aura all around them, and they knew something was coming. Suddenly, to their shock, a huge, enraged Minotaur warrior monster jumped right in front of them. It wasn't just any Minotaur, it was a boss-blind one with a triple S-rank power level. Hinata and Kane were totally taken aback by how massive it was, but Akane just stood there nonchalantly, wondering if this was really the boss. Then, a bunch of spears shot out from the portal. Akane yelled at the others to hit it with their strongest attacks, saying she'd handle whatever came next. Hearing her, Hanada started channeling his energy while Kanagi just stood in the background, amazed by both of them. But deep down, he knew it probably wouldn't be enough to beat the beast. When Han heard him, he was surprised that Kane doubted their best attacks. Even though they were hitting it with a barrage of magic, the beast just swung its huge weapon. It created a crater in the ground and sent powerful shockwaves all over the arena. Once the dust settled, they were shocked. The beast was completely unharmed. Even after their powerful hits, the group got ready to fight again. As Kanegi got ready, he suddenly heard someone praising Akane's talent. He recognized the voice. It was Kilik, his founder's spirit. Kilik, who was an alchemist, worried that Akane, with all her purity, agility, and incredible strength, might just waste her talent by dying so young in this fight. Kilik said Akane had tried her best, but this Minotaur was just on a whole different level of power. She'd underestimated the monster's physical resistance, which was at a full 100%. Kane, getting more concerned, asked what he should do, but Kilik just laughed. Meanwhile, Hanada and Akane were really struggling against the beast. They realized they should have brought someone good at magic. As Akane glanced at Kanegi, she was taken aback by the strange energy coming off his body. Kanegi had given control of his body to Kilik, who then cast his powerful spell, Mercurius, right onto the beast's legs. The spell froze its lower body, a completely gobsmacked Akane. You can practically see her brain short-circuiting, not just because Kane is pulling out her exact same skill set, but also because he's using it in a way that has the beast totally checkmated. Kilik, still joyriding in Kane's body, looks at Akane with a dead serious face and basically calls her an amateur. He then lays into her for being way too one-dimensional with her own powers, telling her she needs to learn how to control stuff in all three states of matter if she ever wants to level up to a real alchemist. And while he's dropping this knowledge bomb, he's simultaneously pumping the Minotaur's entire body full of mercury. The second that liquid metal starts oozing from the monster's mouth, he slaps it with a boiling spell. The mercury inside the beast instantly starts cooking from the inside out, and its gnarly fumes flood the arena, making breathing a premium feature for everyone else. Akane just watches, her jaw on the floor, realizing Kilik didn't just use brute force. He used some next-level temperature control to take the monster down. Meanwhile, the Minotaur is writhing like it's in a heavy metal music video, getting microwaved from the inside. While he's casting this insane spell, Kilik casually mentions to Kane that he wants to make Akane his apprentice. Kane, however, just blows it off like it's a joke. But eventually, the boiling mercury does its job, and the Minotaur collapses into a lifeless, steaming heap on the ground. And just like that, the mission of the day, beating a boss classified as a level 3 prophecy, ends in a total victory. Akane is still staring in disbelief, trying to process what she just saw. Kane had just used a skill that should only be accessible to an awakener who lives inside a crest. Akane knows he has to be in the same league as Hiko, but he had still somehow used alchemy on her level. Still reeling, she gets in his face and demands to know who he really is. With a cocky smile, Kane just sticks out his hand and introduces himself. Akane, looking equal parts annoyed and intrigued, reluctantly shakes his hand, telling him she's damn sure going to remember him. Hanada is beaming like a proud dad, seeing Kane finally get a little respect from Akane. Meanwhile, Kisaragi and his crew are still waiting outside when, to their total shock, the dimensional crack starts to close up. Just as it's about to seal for good, our heroic trio leaps out at the last possible second. Kane asks if the mission is officially a wrap and gets told they just need to file a report back at headquarters. As they're discussing what to do next, Kisaragi walks over, thanking them for saving his team. He promises he won't get nosy or try to dig into their identities or whatever the hell happened in there. Akane thanks him for being cool about it and suggests he just put the details about the emblem in his report. That should be enough to explain everything to the suits. As the trio starts to walk away, Kisaragi offers them a favor if they're ever in a jam. But Akane just looks back and says they'll probably never meet again, telling him to go on back to his normal, boring life. Hearing this, it finally dawns on Kisaragi that these people weren't just civilians. They were operating on a whole different plane of existence he could never reach. Cut to May 11th when a red flash zips through the streets of On Prefecture Village. A guard spots it, but he's completely baffled, with zero clue what he's looking at. Then, all of a sudden, a deafening, sky-shattering roar rips through the whole village. Back at Anti-Prophecy HQ, the trio gets out of their car, and Akane is already on their case about writing up the mission report for the higher-ups. But then Hanada gets a text on his phone. They're being summoned to the lab, and that's super weird, especially since they just got back from a mission. You're all curious about this new mission, so you head over to the Anti-Prophecy HQ lab, where it looks like a weird one-man show is going down. One guy on a stage, another in the stands. The dude sitting down immediately starts talking trash, using his big boy voice to complain that Akane took way too long to handle a measly rank 3 disaster. And wouldn't you know it, you instantly recognize him. It's the same red-haired guy from before. Akane, however, is absolutely fuming at his condescending attitude. She's seriously ticked that he's acting like he runs the place when he definitely doesn't. Hinata, ever the peacekeeper, quickly jumps in to cool things down, asking what director Kurihara needs. Turns out, the guy on stage is the director himself. Once everyone finally chills out, he plays a video the analysis team sent over. The video shows what looks like a glowing, red-hot charcoal briquette, which the director casually explains is a prophecy grimoire. He says they found it in a volcanic region and have been trying to decode it ever since. You can't help but wonder how it's even possible to read a book that's that toasted. But the director, with a classic anime glasses push, reveals they actually managed to squeeze some info out of it. They use some high-tech AI and X-ray gear, even though the full message is still a big question mark. But the one thing they did decipher was a prophecy that straight up name drops Japan. The whole room goes dead silent, especially Akane. This is a huge deal because it's a completely new prophecy, one that's totally off the grid. The director then continues, explaining that their anti-prophecy research is super advanced, pulling data from all over the world, so finding an unknown prophecy is basically unheard of. But this situation is different, and of course, the red-haired dude gets it in a flash. The four of you have to go investigate it. The director praises his sharp thinking and says this mission would normally go to the A-team, but, surprise, they're not available right now. Hearing that, it finally clicks for you this must be why Midori was MIA when you got back. The director then orders you all to get a move on, promising that more details will slide into your email. You're still trying to process getting another mission so fast, but the redhead just tells you to get used to the grind. A seriously uneasy feeling washes over you as you clench your fists, a chilling thought sinking in. This time, the fate of the entire world might be on the chopping block. Just then, Suo slams his hand on the table and shoots to his feet. In the most bossy tone imaginable, he announces that times he times and his times 3 times, subordinates will take the mission. Akane looks like she's about to blow a fuse. He's playing king of the castle again. As you're all heading out, the director gives you one last warning. Be careful, since you have no idea how bad this mission could get. He also reminds you that even if the prophecy starts to kick off, you have to wait for the main force before trying any hero stuff. In the car, you can't shake the bad vibes about all the unknown dangers waiting for you. From the front seat, Suo actually suggests you guys get some rest, pointing out that you just finished your first mission. But Akane, running on pure pride, flat out refuses. She insists he has zero right to give her orders. To her total shock, though, you and Hanada immediately take him up on the offer and are out cold in seconds. Akane is determined to stay awake, fighting a losing battle with sleep. But as the night wears on, exhaustion finally wins, and she drifts off too. Sometime later, the car grinds to a halt. Akane stirs awake, noticing the car is completely empty. Panicked, she scrambles outside and finds the rest of you. You're all standing on a cliff, staring down at an insane glowing light below. What she sees leaves her absolutely speechless and massive. And there it is, a magic circle so ridiculously huge it makes crop circles look like amateur hour. You can practically see Haneda's brain doing the math and realizing just how monumentally screwed they are. Yeah, this is way past territory. The bad guy's doomsday prophecy is officially in its final countdown. To make things extra creepy, you've got skeletons literally clawing their way out of the ground, all gift-wrapped in giant, glowing crystals. Their spooky light paints the whole area in shades of you're about to have a very bad day. The whole squad gets that sinking feeling that they've shown up after the party's already started. Turns out, these aren't just any skeletons. They're the 23 missing villagers from the report. This whole scene gives Suo a major case of déjà vu, reminding him of a similar mess from the past. 30 years ago, the Wakayama mansion just up and vanished, and a dimensional rift almost tore reality a new one. As he's dropping this little history lesson, the massive pillar in the center of all this chaos starts spitting out energy like a faulty generator. Suo sees this light show and is like, all right, time to move. Haneda whips out his sword, all business, asking for the game plan. Suo's brilliant strategy is, they have to stop it. Groundbreaking. Akane, ever the rule follower, immediately jumps in with, remember the director said to wait for orders? But there's no time for a team huddle, because a massive power level over 9,000 vibe hits them from behind. They spin around and there's Kanagi, just glowing with raw power and looking ready to rumble. The whole crew gets it instantly. Kanagi just got a serious level up, but does this phase Suo? Not one bit. He just cracks a smirk, launches himself forward, and basically tells everyone else to keep up. So everyone tears after him, with Akane yelling about him being a reckless idiot. As they're all diving headfirst toward the glowing circle of doom, Hinoi and the mage suddenly catch a whiff of something in the air. It's one of those smells that's super familiar in the worst possible way, a scent they've smelled far too many times in their careers. Just then, the ground starts shaking violently, and with a massive boom, a giant hand just punches its way up from the dirt. Hinoue's eyes go wide. He knows that smell now. Oh yeah, that's the unmistakable stench of a forbidden technique, the exact one from the Book of Scorching Heat Prophecy. Hinoue launches into a quick history lesson. Way back in the Edo period, this superpowered dude named Bandu Shijima, leader of the Dark Magus Club, went on a major genocidal rampage. The good guy magic users eventually took him out, but an entire village got caught in the crossfire. So Shijima, being a resourceful villain, collected all the blood from those poor villagers and used it to draw this very magic circle, setting up his own reincarnation party for 1,000 years later. His to-do list? Simple. Devour everyone and rule the world as a demon king. Before he kicked the bucket, he left behind the recipe for this forbidden technique, basically an instruction manual on how to use living sacrifices for his big comeback. And now, flash forward to today, Shijima has been reborn as a final boss with an unknown power level. His mission is crystal clear: make the prophecy of scorching heat a reality. He looks down at his hands, though, and scowls, realizing he's been brought back with way less power than he was expecting. You can see him wondering if someone skimped on the sacrifices. As he looks around, he notes with some amusement that even after 1,000 years, the place is still a dump. But his lips curl into a psycho grin when he spots the anti-prophecy unit charging right for him. To him, they're not heroes. They're just the next course on the menu. Channeling his evil mojo, he unleashes a move called Plate of Yin, setting off a huge explosion right under the charging heroes. Kanagi has a mini heart attack when the blast engulfs Hanada and Akane, but they pop out of the smoke totally fine. Then his expression goes dark as he sees a new magic circle light up right where they landed. It's the Death Realm, a nasty piece of dark art, and crawling out are hundreds of... And just like that, a bunch of ghostly hands shoot out of the circle, trying to drag Hanada and Akane into the abyss. You see them struggling, and it hits you fast. Shijima is way out of your league. But as this guy watches his evil plan unfold, he suddenly feels a little something behind him. Surprise! It's you, Kanagi, coming in hot with a sneak attack. But Shijima just dodges, bending and weaving like it's a dance-off. He even smirks, calling you an amateur before dropping a plate of yin right at your feet. The thing goes boom, but surprise, surprise, you're totally fine. You fire back with your own Thunderbolt Hadad, but Shijima just throws up a wall of dark magic to block it. Okay, so he stopped it, but you can tell he's a little impressed by your choice of move. Then, out of the smoke, Suo pops up behind Shijima and unleashes the Chrysanthemum spell, sending a storm of sharp knives flying his way. Shijima looks shocked for a hot second before effortlessly leaping into the air to dodge. While he's floating up there, Suo hits him with another spell, basically saying, "Yeah? I knew that first one wouldn't work." Suo slams his weapon down and triggers the Autumn skill, making blades rain from the sky, but Shijima just laughs, calling it a rain of mere lights. He then morphs his hand into some kind of demonic claw and fires a blast at Suo, who blocks it but gets knocked back hard. After that exchange, Shijima pegs Suo as the top dog here. Meanwhile, you're watching from the sidelines thinking this dude's power level is just infinite. He's on a completely different planet from any bad guy you've ever faced. You're pretty sure Shijima's even stronger than the founders. As you're having this little we're gonna die moment, you hear your friends yelling your name. You whip around just in time to see Akane and Hanada getting rocked by some nasty black magic. They barely escape and immediately start charging Shijima again, who's still busy trading blows with Suo. As if he's not busy enough, Shijima casually summons 3 skeleton demons to deal with Akane and Hanada, who are still rushing him head-on. Hanada sees one of the bony bros pop up and gives it a solid kick, but plot twist, it does absolutely nothing. Turns out these monsters are built like the minotaurs you guys fought earlier, solid as a rock. While Shijima and Suo are having their epic showdown, one of the skeleton goons plants itself right in front of you, blocking your path. Shijima even has the nerve to taunt Suo, telling him his backup isn't coming. But right after those words leave his mouth, Suo lands a clean slash right across his shoulder. "I don't need any help," Suo declares, pointing at Shijima. "Stay back. I only need my own strength." Shijima just wipes the blood off, starts laughing like a total maniac, and screams that he doesn't need anyone either and he's just going to eat everyone. With that, he lunges at Suo, who just barely manages to block the attack inches from his face. As Suo is straining against this psycho's onslaught, he hears a voice call his name from behind. "It's you, Kanagi," charging straight for Shijima. The guy is genuinely stunned to see you, especially since he literally sent a demon to keep you busy. He glances back and sees the others are still tied up, but the minion he sent after you is lying on the ground, sliced perfectly in half. While Shijima's brain is buffering, You land a glorious punch right across his face, sending him sliding across the floor. Even Suo looks impressed by that one. You then look at Suo and suggest the unthinkable, teaming up to take this clown down. For a second, Suo just looks at you, dumbfounded. Akane and Hanada haven't even beaten their skeleton buddies yet, but you already handled yours and are now offering to help him. You can practically see his pride wrestling with common sense. Got the best of him. He flat out tells you to take a hike, declaring, "I don't need anyone's help. I'm a one-man army, thanks." You can't even believe this guy, but before you can argue, the main boss Shijima decides your little debate is over. He hacks up his Magatu's breath technique, which is a fancy way of saying a giant laser beam is now heading for both your faces. Suo manages to parry it, but you get absolutely launched, sent flying like a rag doll from the aftershock. You slam into a tree so hard your vision goes all fuzzy. Hinoi is watching with a smug little "I told you so" smile, having seen this coming a mile away. Meanwhile, Moon acting up, a super spicy pandemic, and freaking floating trees were all on their oh crap list. Out of all that, she mentioned